Hey everybody, I want to just shoot a little update on the 125 here. Had a near disaster, but my vigilance paid off and it actually caught my lack of vigilance, if that makes any sense. Last night I did a final check on the tank before I went to bed. I was kind of assuming everything was going to be okay, but I check the water parameters anyway, like I said, until I'm really comfortable that this tank is settled in. I check it at least every morning and every night, and then often throughout the day I'll give it a look. So last night when I checked it, I noticed that the nitrites were creeping up there again, and they made me a little uncomfortable. They were right around half a part per million, and that's kind of my limit, whether it's ammonia, especially ammonia, but even nitrites I don't like to let get over half a part per million, or even really up to half a part per million, and that's where it was sitting last night. Unfortunately, this was like 12:30 at night. I had an oddball night. It was very late by the time I was getting ready to shut everything down. And so I hemmed and hawed a little bit, and I decided better safe than sorry. So yes, I did about a 20% water change last night at almost 1 in the morning. Unfortunately, when I got everything all put back together, I forgot to plug in the heater, and I forgot to plug in the filter. Now, normally that would not be a big deal. I have an 850 gallon an hour power head in the bottom left corner there, the back side there, and it moves the water around this tank. It really does. And water circulation is what you need for gas exchange. So I wasn't worried that my fish might have suffocated overnight. 125 gallon tank with plants in it is going to hold quite a bit of oxygen to begin with. And then with the water circulating, that surface area is where you exchange gases. And with the turnover rate I've got in this tank, again, the gas exchange just wasn't going to be an issue. What is an issue is I'm not fully cycled in yet. And if I was already getting a little bit of nitrite building up in the tank during the day with the filter running, then that tells me that the filter itself does not have enough nitrifying bacteria in it yet to deal with the amount of nitrite that's being produced in the tank. I've got enough to deal with the ammonia, and that's why I'm getting the nitrite. Now I just have to let the other type of bacteria grow in numbers until there's enough to deal with the nitrite that's being produced, and I'm not quite there yet. So the bulk of my nitrifying bacteria at this point lives in my filter. As the tank matures, it'll grow everywhere in the tank on all the surface area, and that's the key. If this was a mature tank, leaving the filter off overnight is not really going to be that big a deal with the amount of water circulation I have. If I didn't have any water movement, that would have been a different story. So don't think if you've only got a filter moving water around your tank, it's okay to leave it off overnight, especially if it's a very small tank like a 10 gallon or something. I have multiple sources of water circulation, and that's what actually keeps that gas exchange happening if my filter does shut down or break, or I forget to plug it back in, as I did last night. So I came down this morning and I did another nitrite test just to see what was going on, and this filter runs so quietly I hadn't even noticed at that point that it wasn't running. I can see the leaves and everything moving around in the tank, and you can too at the moment. That's just from that power head. There's no filter or anything running. So I couldn't tell that the filter wasn't up. And then, of course, when I did my first morning check of the nitrites, like, holy crap, it was getting up close to 1 part per million. It was getting, that test tube was turning purple. So, of course, I came back in here immediately and began, looking around. And, of course, it took me all 1 second to realize I didn't plug the damn filter back in. And there's just not enough nitrifying bacteria on the surface material in the tank to deal with that yet. So I literally just cut my biofiltration off from the tank. I just, they weren't coming in contact with each other. So any nitrites or ammonia that was being produced in the tank was just continuing to build up overnight. Fortunately, my vigilance of checking the tank first thing in the morning when I come down here, I caught it in time, and again the nitrites were a little bit high, but not terribly high. They were getting up towards 1 part per million, and again that's past my limit, but it's not time to panic yet. So I just did a nice big water change. I got my little inexpensive timer set to remind me when it goes off to plug the filter back in. This is twice now I've done this on this filter. It's just out of sight, out of mind. It's in that drawer underneath. The plug is over here in the corner. I have it pulled out as far as I can now. See, there goes my timer. It gives me a little bit of a leeway, to call my attention back to the tank should I get distracted by shooting video or something like that. So I am going to get going. That was basically all I wanted to go over was, the issue with leaving the filter off overnight was not an issue per se. It was not an issue if it would have been, or wouldn't have been an issue if it was a more established, mature tank because of my water circulation. In this case, however, it's because of my lack of being fully cycled. And again, I don't recommend doing it like this. I don't recommend having fish in a tank that's not ready for fish to have in it. You should not have to be dealing with these little potential crises. I'm bringing these on myself by stocking the tank before it was ready. Again, I had my reasons. The fish were in a tank that they really, really needed to get out of. I know I'm capable of doing this. I've done it before, so I wasn't too worried about it. I don't recommend doing this, but if you got to, you can. It's possible. Anyway, that's my video. I think I'm going to start rambling if I keep talking. So I'm going to get back to doing my water change, and I thank you for watching this update, and I'm sure there'll be plenty more to come, so go ahead and subscribe now, and you won't miss anything. Thanks again. I'll see you real soon.